Gonna introduce Good Life Organics. I'll let you guys, tell who you are and your backgrounds a bit. But I can tell you, every time I stop in there, I end up buying all kinds of things because it's so good. Highly recommended.
She gets the same smoothie every time too.
Every time. Yes, every time. All right. Thank you. First one. The smoothie it's called what? Busting Your Nuts.
Yep.
And it's peanut butter, but I change it a little. Peanut butter with vanilla protein and a little bit of banana milk. That's the key. The banana milk is the key.
Who prefers chocolate over vanilla? Most answer? Okay. Well, that's right. It's with chocolate, but she prefers a vanilla, which is also very good, but we prefer chocolate. Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Good. How's your summer? It's going too quick? Yeah, a little too quick? All right. Who likes the hot temperatures that we had over the weekend? Who likes it like it is today? All the better? Okay, good. I do too. All right, I'm Joel. I'm the owner of Good Life Organics. Has anyone ever heard of Good Life Organics or where it is? No? Anyone know where Shillington is? Okay, well, we're located over in Shillington down there. Our business is about 11 months right now, so we're almost at a year marker. We'll be a year in September. But we do a lot of cold pressed juices, which I do have some samples of today for you guys. We do smoothies, so we all like smoothies here, at least this time of year. We do smoothie shakes, which are made with local ice cream. I'm sure we all like that. We have a lot of different good, pretty cool flavors. And then we do smoothie bowls. Anyone know what a smoothie bowl is? No? No takers? So smoothie bowls, you have ice cream up top, really, really frozen. And then smoothie bowls are just a step below that. So it's essentially a little bit more of a frozen smoothie that you eat with a spoon. And we load it up with all kinds of really, really good toppings. So that's kind of our niche, per se, in this area. Not too many other people have that there too. We do a lot of food items, so lunch, we do some brunch type stuff. Just added bacon to our menu, which we're really, really excited about. And then, yeah, so we serve a much bigger company that, as Ann and Michelle know, they do a lot of the financial stuff for here and for them individually and privately. So a company founded on financial advising, if you guys have heard of that, but they take a very holistic approach. So they focus on the quality of life of individuals leading up to their retirement age. That's why they brought in the juice bar, and they also have a gym there as well, which is pretty cool. So it's a different type of concept. But yeah, we serve a lot of healthy stuff. If anyone knows the difference between organic, has anyone heard of the term organic before? So very clean sourcing, a lot of locally sourcing. We actually do a bunch of stuff out here in the school district versus conventional raised, which is more of a bigger, more factory farm, not as clean. A lot of other bad stuff that's going into. So we focus a lot on the good stuff. It's real food, essentially, versus processed food. And it definitely has a taste advantage over everything else out there, too. So that's my role there. Ariana currently is our juice bar team leader, but she has now started the Good Life Integrative Health Institute, and she'll let you know a little bit more about that.
So with the Good Life Integrative Health Institute, we have created this community space for people to come and learn about different approaches to living a healthier life naturally. So I teach yoga classes, and who here has practiced yoga? Anyone? Cool. So we're going to do a little bit of yoga today, and a little bit of a breathing exercise, and at the Health Institute, we also bring in local guest speakers to talk about anything relating to natural ways of living. We started a farmer's market actually this past Tuesday, so that's something else great we're bringing to the community. We have small businesses selling local organic products and local organic produce as well. So that's every Tuesday at the parking lot where Good Life Financial is. So one thing I'm going to ask for you guys all to do is I want you one chair apart because we're going to be doing some yoga. So make sure you have like room. We're not going to be doing any chair postures because that would require us to move all these chairs. I'm not going to make you do that today. Okay, so.
You have enough room over there?
Go like this.
Very good there. You sir, almost.
You guys have enough room?
You guys are behind us, so we don't see it.
So the first thing we're gonna do before we do a little bit of breathing is we're gonna create this awesome sound bowl. So this requires everyone to participate. When I count down to 1 from 3, we're all gonna go and you're just gonna feel the vibration of that sound in your mouth. I know you can laugh a little bit. It's kind of funny.
I laugh still every day.
But if we all participate and do it loudly, don't be afraid to do it loud. It's gonna make this really cool sound effect. Okay, so everyone close your eyes. Sit up nice and tall. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna do it again, and I want you to take it up just a little bit, just a notch, a little bit louder. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so maybe you realize the vibration of your mouth started to actually calm down the body if you really got into it. So that's how I like to close out every yoga practice. So before we do some seated chair yoga, we're gonna do some alternate nostril breathing. Has everyone ever heard of that? So alternate nostril breathing actually helps to reduce anxiety, calm the body, calm the mind, and you start to really feel that mind-body connection. So I want you to take your pointer and middle finger, your left hand, and you're gonna place it just outside of your right nostril. So when we breathe in, you're gonna breathe in through the right nostril, and then you're gonna switch, exhale through the left, covering with your thumb. And now I want you to gently close your eyes. Breathe in through the right. Now close it off. Exhale through the left. Breathe in. Close off with the thumb. Exhale out the right. And I want you to continue doing so. Breathing through opposite nostrils. You start to create that space in the mind. And as you breathe, I want you to be breathing with your belly. So as you inhale, your belly starts to puff out. When you exhale, your belly relaxes. We're just going to do a few more breaths. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall, your shoulders are relaxed. Now, you can relax your hand back down, open your eyes, roll out the shoulders a little bit, move around. So I was really excited to come here today and share this with you guys because when I was your age, that's actually when I started to get into yoga. My first relationship ended, my first love in high school. I thought it was like the end of the world. I thought I was gonna die. How could I go on another day? Throughout high school, I just like really kept to myself. I was like an artsy student, didn't have a big group of friends. I had anxiety, depression. I just did not like school at all. And I didn't like how I was feeling. So I just thought like, how can I develop a practice to help me to not feel this way? All I knew is I wanted to feel better. So the next day, I went to my first yoga class and I did yoga for 30 days straight. I had such a great experience at my first class, and after those 30 days, my life completely changed. I was just like a new person. I had a lot more patience for myself, and not just myself, but all circumstances outside of myself. It just told me, like, yoga just taught me that you can't control everything. So if things don't go as planned, you just let it be. And I just was a lot more calmer and started to reduce my anxiety and was just living a lot happier of a life. So with that all being said, I'm like really grateful to be able to guide you through this quick like 10-minute chair yoga posture exercise, and I'm gonna hand out free class cards for my class, so if you guys are interested, you can contact me or show up for a class and see how it may influence you. So we're gonna start by sitting up nice and tall. I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose. We're going to inhale our arms up towards the ceiling. Reach and stretch your arms up. You're reaching so far up, you feel yourself stretch up and out of your waist. And now we're going to exhale out the mouth, float the arms down to the sides. One more time, breathe in through the nose. And I want to hear you all exhale. Okay, so this is actually pretty hard for me to do sitting on a table. So I hope you guys can all see me up here. Actually, I'm gonna get that chair.
Don't we all want comfortable chairs like this one?
Yes, sorry. Okay. So your knees should be about hip distance apart. Your feet are flat on the ground. I want you to inhale, extend your right arm up. And now bending forward, you're gonna do your best to reach that right arm down towards the ground. So if your hand can't touch the ground, that's fine. You just wanna be reaching in that direction. If your hand touches, that's great. So now I want you to extend opposite arm up towards the ceiling. Reach your arm up, keep your fingertips together, keep the upper body down. You start to feel that twist of the spine, that tension being released in your shoulder. And now I want you to come back up to a seated position. You're gonna do the opposite side. We gotta balance it all out, right? So now, inhale, extend the left arm up. Bend forward and go down. All I hear is the creaking of the chairs. Okay, and now inhale, extend the opposite arm up. Keep the fingertips together and reach. Reach up even higher. There you go. And release. Okay, the next one we're gonna do is gonna be a hip opener. You're gonna feel this on the back of your leg, up towards your glute and in the hips. So I want you to bring your right ankle to rest over top of your left knee. If you're wearing jeans or a skirt, it's maybe a little bit difficult. You might not wanna do it with a skirt on. I don't think anyone's wearing a skirt. So you're here, maybe you already start to feel the stretch, but you guys are young, so you're probably a little bit more flexible and limber. So if you want to deepen the stretch, bring the upper body forward. And you bring it forward until you feel that tightness in your glute muscle, in your leg, and you just breathe. It's okay if it feels a little bit uncomfortable. That's normal, but you don't want to feel pain. So you just hold it here, get that nice deep stretch. And now come up. Opposite side, so switch out the legs. And now come forward. And maybe you notice one side feels a little bit tighter than the other. That's completely normal. I know I always have one side tighter than the other because I have scoliosis. And that's another thing that my yoga practice has helped out with. And release. Okay, now we're going to do a spinal twist. So you're still sitting nice and tall. I want you to wrap your left arm behind your back. Good. Your right hand touches your left shoulder. And starting from the bottom of the spine, so right down here, you're going to start to twist. And then you work your way up. So the last thing, twist, should be your head. So you're moving over to the left. You don't want to completely turn your hips. You want to keep your hips in one line. Good job, guys. And release. Come back to center. Opposite side, so put that right arm behind your back. Left hand on your shoulder. And twist. And release. So now this one can be a little tricky. You just have to follow along. I want you to put both arms straight out in front of you. And now cross your right arm over top of the left. And now bend the elbows. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Bring the palms together to touch. You got it, that's perfect. Cross, bend, palms come together. They definitely get it more than...
Yeah, you guys did way better than our adults.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Way better.
Yeah. Look, that's what happens.
Can you guys wave to one another then? Just wave like this.
Okay, and release. We're going to do the opposite side now. So left arm over the right, bending at the elbows. So now at this point, the backs of your hands should be facing each other. And you just want to draw the hands together until the palms touch. So they don't have to perfectly align like mine do. You can just touch like the inside of your palm if that works for you. Or you can even grab hold of the thumb. There you go. Good. And now, draw your shoulders down, away from the ears. You start to feel that stretch in here. Now I'm going to make you guys hold it for 5 more minutes. Just think. Okay, and release. And now, reach the arms up. And again, we're going to exhale out the mouth. I want to hear everyone exhale. Don't be afraid to be loud. Ready? Inhale. Let it all go. Just let it all release. Okay, and now before we get some juice samples and a little snack, we're going to do one last Om. I want it to be way louder than the 2 that we did before, okay? So everyone give me your loudest Om. So sit up nice and tall, close your eyes. Deep breath in. 3, 2, 1. Good job, guys. You're all yogis. Y'all did your first yoga class.
How do you guys feel? You guys feel better? One more work? A little more tight?
You need more, right? Maybe a whole hour. You do? Oh man, I'm telling you, if you keep practicing, it'll just start to improve your posture. Because there were days like with school and with work, like sitting or standing, like either one for long periods of time, I would feel like a tightness in my back. And practicing, like it just slowly started to improve. And now that I've developed like a strong practice, if I go like a week without practicing, I feel it all over again. So it helps so much. So I'm gonna come around and pass out my card that has my contact information if anyone has any questions about yoga and how it may be able to help them, and also a free class card.
Does anyone here have a nut or peanut allergy at all? Okay, anyone else in here besides her? She can't touch them. Guys, these are chocolate, peanut butter, energy balls that are coming around. Or energy bites. I guess they're not balls, they're square. So, you like chocolate peanut butter? That combination? It's got a little bit of raisins in there for a little extra sweetness, so that's just gonna be coming around then. So what we're doing here with Energy Bites, when I say energy, they're nutrient dense. So there's about 5 ingredients. Everything is organic, so they're very clean sourced. So when your body is getting a clean source of nutrient dense something in you, it provides natural energy. Try to pop the entire thing in there. You can do it. And chew with your mouth closed too. Okay, we talked about chocolate. You guys know the benefits of chocolate at all? Anyone know like a benefit of chocolate besides it tasting good? Which is a benefit. Oh, what we got?
I think it helps with your heart.
Yes, it does. That is a major component of it. Okay, chocolate, what else? Okay, yes. Anything else for chocolate? Here's some, are you guys sometimes, who's in a bad mood sometimes? Or is it all the time? Is everyone in a bad mood all the time? Well, chocolate, one of its major benefits is actually it's mood lifting. So when you eat a lot of chocolate, that's not a Hershey's chocolate bar, we're talking about like real chocolate. I think they kind of categorize it as 73% cacao. So you have cocoa, which is essentially a processed form of cacao, which is the real bean. So do we know that chocolate is actually not really chocolate? Do we know that chocolate's more, it's actually a plant, or it comes from almost like a bean? So that's essentially what cacao is. So cacao is a non-processed form. So it's loaded with antioxidants. Do we know what antioxidants are? So they go through your body, they take care of free radicals, which aren't good, take away from inflammation, which is not good either. So when you eat good chocolate like that's in this bar, it's very mood lifting, so you can get very happy all of a sudden, and we all get happy eating chocolate, but this actually has something deep down that makes you happy. But it helps out with removing free radicals from your body, taking care of inflammation, reducing those levels. Okay, but again, it's mood boosting first and foremost. Yeah, pretty satisfied. Do we have any extras? You guys, I don't want to take them home, so you need to do like a double back right ahead. Don't let it in her hands at the end. She'll keep them for herself. Okay. So, what do you think we have in here? Any idea? I can tell you something you probably wouldn't think that's in here. Okay, these are juices. This is something called kombucha. Anyone heard of kombucha before? Okay, do we know what kombucha is? Okay, we got some nodders in back. What do you guys think it is?
Like non-alcoholic beer.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're on game. So yes, that's actually a really good general term to use for it. Okay, that's great. This does have a little bit of alcohol in it, okay, but it is well below the legal limit. It is less than 0.05%. which is pretty minimal, but it is a superfood, essentially. So we call this a functional beverage. Okay, that is a huge industry these days. Functional meaning it actually does something for you that you actually need. So kombucha is a fermented tea base. So that tea can be black, it can be green, it can be white, it can be a combination of all that. But essentially, fermented means, anyone know what the fermentation process can give you, or what it creates, essentially, that's good for your body? So this essentially gives you some good bacteria. So we call it probiotics. Everyone heard of probiotics before? Okay, yogurt. Okay, essentially has a lot of probiotics, but so does kombucha. So in liquid form, it's very hydrating. It loads you up with gut health in terms of the good bacteria. A lot of probiotics are going into it. And it goes through a second fermentation process, which is essentially what flavors your kombucha. So this one here is a brand new one. Okay, that has a lot of lemon in it, so we all like lemon. Has hibiscus. Do we know what hibiscus is? Okay, so it adds a little bit of floral notes to it in general, and then we have a little bit of ginger in this too. Ginger is also very good for your gut health. The reason why we're going to start with this one, kombucha, it's so good for you because it has very little sugar. So who here likes sugar? Who here is addicted to sugar? That's the next question, yeah. So this has about 4 grams of sugar, which is not very much, a little bit over a teaspoon, per serving, which is roughly about 8 ounces or so. Once you have the ability to handle kombucha, you can get up to about 16 ounces a day, but if you feel your stomach actually a little bit upset or growling or anything like that, okay, that just means that you probably just drank too much, and that means you're probably in a bad state in your stomach, and it's actually something that good that is kind of turning over and changing for you. So this will have notes of flowers, hibiscus essentially, and have some lemon in it, but it might have a little bit of a slight sour taste to it, which is traditional to kombucha, almost like a slight vinegary taste to it. But luckily, we only give you 1 ounce, so you guys don't have to drink 8 ounces or 4 16 ounces into your body. So I'm letting Ariana start to kind of go around and pour a little bit for you. So again, just an ounce, a little bit of sample. Again, the reason why we're starting with this one, if you came back to kombucha after drinking our juice, which is really, really sweet, you're not going to like it at all. And we will make sure you kind of get a little taste of this. And I advise you don't smell it, actually. It's going to smell kind of sour, kind of vinegary, and it's going to take away from the actual experience of kombucha.
Now, everybody wants to smell it.
I don't know how to smell it. You can smell it. It's not that bad. You guys have had kombucha? You guys have not had kombucha? Okay. Who here has had kombucha? How about that? Okay, awesome. Mainly above 30. So again, this is, as he said, what is your name? Yeah. Okay, yeah, what he said in the back, it's a non-alcoholic beer, so for someone who's looking for just a really good healthy alternative at any age, you can go ahead and drink it and kind of feel some of that carbonated fizziness that comes with it. So reminiscent of soda. What do you guys think? Pretty good, not too bad though, right? Not too scary? Okay. What do you think, not too bad? Tastes like beer? Okay, how do you know what it tastes like?
How do you know that? Where is her mother?
Yeah, that's
Wait.
Yeah, does it taste like beer? Anyone else? Does it taste like beer? You've all smelled it maybe in a recycling bin somewhere and it really has a strong taste. This actually, I think, is a little bit better. I remember I was your age growing up, my dad had a little bit of that, and I'm like, oh, beer smells the same, it tastes the same, and it's really not. Okay, but this has a little bit of alcohol, but really, really good for you. Very low in sugar. So if you guys like soda, or if you drink soda at all, and you really want to just get away from soda, and you want something that tastes similar to it, but way healthier for you, this is a great alternative to a sugary, addictive soda. And we try to steer clear of it. I've had soda since college. How old do you think I am, guys? You can guess it, yeah, a decade or so. So I'm in my 30s, mid-30s. So it's been about 14 years since I had my last soda. I'm sure for most of you it's been this morning or yesterday. Yeah, you guys can fix it. All right, 2 juices. So we actually started our operations by doing our own juicing. Who has done their own juicing, or does anyone's parents have a juicer at home of any sort? Okay, so there's different types of juicers. The one we have and one we were doing was called a cold pressed technology, or a slow masticating. So masticating means we're breaking it up, we're kind of smashing and crushing the fruit in it. So when it's done slowly, there's not that much heat that is produced. So we all know that when heat and something else come together, combine, it starts to break down a lot of the nutrition, a lot of the enzymes that exist, particularly in produce. So when you get a slow masticating juicer, okay, it actually turns very slowly, versus a centrifugal juicer, which rotates, these blades rotate at almost 10,000 revolutions per minute. And you can imagine with these blades rotating, that much horsepower going into it, it really heats up certain things that are going through it. So those ones are a lot more efficient to use, but again, with the heating process in it, it creates a less healthy juice that comes out of it. So we were doing our own juicing when we first started. We ran out of space really fast because we didn't have the ability to, create our space or build it out. So we partnered with this company called Rejuice, which is in Lancaster. So they have like a $50,000 juicer, something that obviously we can't afford as a small business. So we partnered with them, and they create a cold pressed juice. Okay, so this is as healthy as it gets. Okay, it really retains all the natural enzymes and the nutrients. And being sourced in Lancaster County, Lancaster is actually currently rated #1 in most fertile lands in the entire country. So anything that comes out of Lancaster particularly, Berks is pretty darn good too. It has some of the best, most nutrient-dense fruit and produce coming out of those soils out there too. So 2 that we have today, we might be able to get a sample of each one. We probably start with the Walk on the Beach here. So this is sweetened by apple for sure, so you get a little bit of that in there. But there's carrots in here, there's some lemon, and there's some ginger. But the orange color comes from golden beets. So you guys all know what most beets look like, which are red typically. Okay, this now is a golden beet. It's a little bit softer than red beets and a little bit sweeter than red beets too. So you get a little subtle hint of that. So I'm gonna have Ariana pass around the Walk on the Beach. And the other one we have here is pretty much used to be a seasonal one, which is a strawberry base. We all like strawberries here. Strawberries are a little bit sweeter than blueberries. Ton of antioxidants in here too. But this is a strawberry and basil based juice with some lemon, some lime, and also some apple in addition. So this one is a really good one for this time of year, which is pretty seasonal. So what do we think so far with the first couple sips? Okay, not too bad. So again, this one has a lot more of a higher sugar content, although it's, again, natural sugar than what you just had in kombucha. Kombucha, again, about 4 grams of sugar per 8 ounces. This one, in terms of natural sugar and all that produce, you're kind of in that 24 to 28 grams of sugar range there too. So a lot more. That's why I didn't want to start with this and then go back to the kombucha. You guys would not have liked that at all. Even for me, I don't really care if I'm going to go that way. Okay, so each one of these bottles, which is a liter of juice, how many pounds of produce do you guys think goes into one of those bottles? Just any guesses? Any guesses? Okay, we have 5 pounds of produce that goes into that. So if I had 5 pounds of produce today that I brought in, that is a lot. It's about 5 times what you see in one of those bottles that goes through. Yeah, what do you guys think of strawberry? Yeah. So again, another great alternative to drinking soda too. Anything that's processed sugar, which a lot of soda has, you're getting just straight, completely natural and organic sugar from just the actual juice. So remember, your body does not handle, okay, this type of sugar versus processed sugar. it treats it a whole lot different. You still wouldn't want to drink a whole lot of this if you guys have issues with blood sugar levels, which a lot of adults do. A lot of kids are starting to have issues with that as well. You can still kind of get in trouble a little bit if you drink too much of this because it's still a lot of natural sugar. But if you guys will replace your sodas with some kombucha and some cold pressed juices, you guys will see some pretty dramatic changes in time, particularly with energy levels. So you guys struggle with energy? Okay, you guys struggle with energy during school year? No? You're pretty good? Yeah. Well, this can really, really help out when you substitute the process with the naturals. What did you think? You like
It's really
the
good.
strawberry? Did you get strawberry?
Yeah,
or-
I had which one?
That's strawberry one.
Oh, strawberry? Okay.
Really good.
And if anyone wants more, you see there's more left in it, we're gonna give you guys some samples of that too.
I could do this.
Yeah, you can do that, right? Yeah, like I said, it's delicious stuff, so if you guys need a quick way to get in your 5 to 7 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, you really only need 8 to 10 ounces, which isn't much, 8 to 10 ounces of this, and you will get your 5 to 7 fruits and vegetables in a day just out of that. So if you say, hey, that's hard to do. So if you're eating fruits and vegetables at home, you know, it's still hard to kind of break that down and chew it and eat it all. You have to spread it out through the course of the day. But again, just a single serving of this, you're sitting pretty well.
You can put this in your water bottles you carry around school too, and then have more energy probably. Also for you guys to think about while he's talking, if you're interested in this stuff, you know you can turn this into research projects. So think about that whole twist on this.
Yeah, she was saying some really cool stuff of what you guys can do to break it down into little micronutrients and let us know how things are and yeah, all the other different stuff that's in them as well. What do you guys prefer? Strawberry one? Everyone prefer the strawberry over the golden beets? Okay, it's not atypical at all, so it makes sense. It is really, really good. All right, guys, well, we don't have too much time here, but, you know, going from the stuff that Ariana did, which is awesome, to juice samples, which is awesome and tasty, to kombucha samples, we're now into a quick little rundown of just what I call living a long and abundant life. Okay, who wants to live a long and abundant life? Everyone want to live a long and abundant life? Yeah. So essentially what that means is living long, okay, hopefully in our 90s. Did you get that? Okay. All right, awesome. No, you're good, you're good. Yeah, so living long. So living to 70 is not long. Living to 100 is long. So we all want to live to 100. And then living abundantly. So we don't want to live to 100 not feeling great. Okay, we're supposed to retire at some point. You guys are way young even thinking about that. We're supposed to retire at some point, not have to work, not have to deal with the stresses of work, feeling pretty good, practicing yoga 5 times a day in retirement, hopefully, right? 5 times a day?
5 times a day.
Okay, but feeling good. Yeah, those are considered our golden years. So we want to make sure we're at optimal health and just feeling awesome once we hopefully get into our 60s and are doing that. Have you guys heard of a term called the blue zone areas around the world? What blue zones are? So they're really just small pockets of areas around the world that live the longest, but they also live the most vibrant lives. So there's actually a very small pocket. I don't know what the town is in California, but it literally is outside of a city, but it's a zone, again, that they deem one of the blue zones. Right outside of Greece, there's another one. Okinawa, Japan, you know, there's a blue zone there. So these are the people who live the longest, and they also live the healthiest of lives in too. So what they found out of these blue zone findings is that these people are eating food. We all eat food, okay, but they don't do too much of food, and they eat mostly plants. Okay, so who eats a lot of food all day long? They wake up, they feel hungry, and before they go to bed, they need dessert or something like that. So who all is in that category? Pretty much almost everyone? Yeah, and that was me too. That was me too up until about 30 years old. And then I started kind of change certain things just because I had a lot of things going on with me too. So when you eat too much, essentially what they're saying is that you're eating maybe 6 times a day. You might eat first thing in the morning at 6 a.m., and then you're eating maybe at like 10 o'clock at night. So essentially what they're finding is that when you eat a little bit less often, so let's say like right now I'm doing an intermittent fasting, as I was telling her over there. You guys heard of intermittent fasting before? Essentially, you're just going a certain period of time, more than 12 hours. So I do about 16 hours where I don't eat, and I drink a whole lot of water with a whole lot of lemon, a whole lot of Himalayan sea salt, get all those nutrients in. But I'm actually allowing my body and my digestive system to kind of take a break. So when we're eating at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're eating kind of dinner or snack or whatever till 10 o'clock at night, your digestive system is constantly working. And as we know, to break down food, particularly meats in general, it takes a whole lot of energy, and it's always at the expense of your body to do so. So when you kind of shorten what they call your eating window, so if I'm eating from 12 noon until about 8 o'clock at night, not only are you giving your body a rest to get that blood flow diverting to up here for mental clarity, and if you guys are athletes or you guys exercise a lot, you actually will gain performance advantages and benefits with good oxygen flow to your muscles when you're not actually eating and it's kind of going to your stomach to kind of break things down a little bit. So it's actually a lot more beneficial to eat a little bit less often, okay, and then try not to snack too much throughout the day. And I was a personal trainer about 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long already. We were taught opposite. Again, I was kind of teaching my clients, a lot of other people, to eat 6 meals a day. We thought that when your metabolism is constantly working and you're trying to break down food all the time, that was actually advantageous for losing weight or for energy demands, but it actually was not correct. So now we know that eating a little bit less, eating less often, and having your meals just not be overwhelming where you guys just feel full for hours on end afterwards, that's actually really, really beneficial. So they've shown that in those blue zone regions across the world, that again, they're eating good food, but they're not eating too much of it, and it's actually mostly plants, which are a lot easier to kind of break down, obviously, than meats and chicken and eggs and so on and so forth then too. All right, so when I was doing these stats, it's pretty staggering when you get these percentages of food, but the average American actually consumes 34% of their calories from meat and dairy and eggs. So that's way up there. So we know that Americans are definitely meat heavy, they're dairy heavy, there's massive industries out there too. So our goal is to actually just bring that number way down. So when you compare 34% of our calories coming from those sources, you only have 6% of calories coming from vegetables. Okay, you only have 3% of those calories coming from fruit. So when you add those up, 9%. Okay, that's not much at all. So when we try to get our 5 to 7 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, we're only averaging maybe 1 to 2 servings a day. So we can definitely increase that dramatically and decrease the amount of meats and dairy and eggs coming into it. If you guys just do that, just fix those ratios a little bit, then you'll be in a lot better health, you'll perform better, you'll have greater energy, greater mental clarity, and you'll just be happier in general. So you won't actually need as much chocolate, although we still want chocolate at the end of the day anyways, in general. If you guys are, anyone here an athlete at all? Anyone play sports in general? Okay. Well, when you guys play sports, you definitely still need to consume more protein than you do if someone is not athletic. Obviously, we need it for muscle building, and we need it for recovery. But, okay, research is showing that an overconsumption of protein, okay, is still leading to a whole lot more of those major diseases that exist. So it's really just finding that balance of consuming the right amount of protein, okay, versus over-consuming protein. So if you guys get into like your supplements, your whey proteins, or your hemp proteins, even from a plant-based source, you still really want to monitor that. But essentially what they're saying is that with 34% of calories coming from meat and dairy and eggs, which are very good sources of protein, okay, most Americans are consuming way too much, particularly in that form, and therefore it's leading to, again, a more leading cause of the major diseases out there. So when you can just decrease that a little bit, again, you guys will have better health in the long haul. Okay, so the 4 principles I'm talking about, we talked about processed foods. They're coming from much bigger, almost factory farms where animals aren't treated humanely whatsoever, to processed sugars versus the natural sugars that we kind of had today. So you want to eat fewer processed foods, You want to eat fewer animal products, so it's not saying eliminating them altogether, just eating less to begin with. Eating more whole plant foods. Okay, so you can juice them like here, but actually just taking in the whole plant in and of itself. And then, which goes along with that whole factory farm thing I was talking about versus going right up the street here and getting something from the local farm, is we're sourcing consciously. Okay, so again, a lot of these factory farms, the animals are not treated humanely. Okay, I still eat a lot of animal products. Ariana does not. So she chooses not to, as a vegan, to move away from that. For me, if I consume it, it has to be from someone I know, which is hopefully right up the street here. And you know that they're cows, or they're pigs, or they're chickens. They're roaming on the fields, they're grazing in the grasses, they're consuming all that stuff that is natural. There's really good sunlight, and it's a much smaller footprint in terms of what they're making out there too. So those type of meats, that type of milk, those type of eggs that you're consuming, they're not the same as these bigger, more conventional factory farms. You're gonna get a whole lot more nutrients out of it, and it actually has shown to prove beneficial, okay, to consume small amounts of that. Okay, people tend to be a little bit healthier that way than forego it or forsake it at all. Okay, for Ariana, that's what, more of a conscious decision, correct? Okay, for her to do that. So if you guys are against, animals being mistreated at all in any sort of way, or you value their lives in any sort of way, you can kind of go her route, which is more the vegan route, and that is her own personal decision to do so. All right, sugars and flours and snacking outside of meals, official planned meals. Try not to have seconds. I know it's tough on Thanksgiving particularly, but if you already had ample first for your meal and you try to, you feel pretty full, but you really want to go back in there and get that last piece of turkey with some extra gravy on top of it. If you guys just, forego that at all, that is a huge thing that will be with you your entire lives in terms of overeating and just too much snacking almost in between there too. Immense health benefits. All right, so you guys all heard of cancer. Cancer is terrible. It's the number 2 disease, the heart disease, which is another big thing. It impacts us every single day, whether we think it does or not. So there's definitely a lot of cancer-fighting foods out there. Obviously, fruits and vegetables, yes. But some of the top cancer-fighting foods that I came up with, number 1, which has had a profound impact on my life in turning my health around, has been mushrooms. Anyone like mushrooms here in this room? Yeah? Depends what it is. So not too many people like mushrooms, but we're talking about magical mushrooms. Okay, and not the stuff that you might hear in terms of stories out there on the streets, whatever it is. But in general, mushrooms are really, really good for you. Out of any sort of kingdom, plant kingdom, fungi, whatever, we share the most characteristics with fungi. So 56%, you've probably heard me say this over and over again, we share 56% of the same DNA with mushrooms. So when you consume mushrooms, you can only imagine that they do really, really good stuff for you. So part of my story with anxiety and depression, I was a college athlete at Penn State, a Division I runner. I thought I had it in the books. I was performing at a very high level. I could eat whatever the heck I wanted to eat just to try to get calories in for the amount of calories I was burning, which was 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day. But once I graduated from college, about a year afterwards, I was literally in the middle of a 10-mile race in Ole where something just hit me, right about mile 2. I don't know what it was. I was in the lead of the race. I was all excited. People were cheering for you, but then I just felt off. I'm not sure what happened or what it was. I got to the end of the race, still felt the same. Didn't even stay for the award ceremony. I just went home. I just didn't know what was going on with me. It was just a feeling that I was off. So something was going on down here. Yet it took me about 8 or 9 years just to kind of realize what actually was happening. No one could really help me out, but it was leading to anxiety. It was leading to depression, just because obviously if you don't know what's going on and no one is diagnosing you with anything, obviously your mind starts to play tricks with you and you start to kind of spiral downward even further. So it took about 8 or 9 years to get out of that slump that I was dealing with. In about year 6, I came across medicinal mushrooms. So I started to incorporate that into my diet. And I read about them, I knew what they could do, but I didn't realize how close we were to that kingdom. So I started to supplement with medicinal mushrooms. I started to swap out some of my processed foods, my sodas and everything else, with just whole plant foods. I sourced consciously when I went to my meats and my dairies and eggs. And with a combination of that type of stuff over months, my anxiety, which was very severe at that time, it disappeared. My depression was gone. And I finally had the motivation and the mental clarity to kind of get back to doing what I was doing, particularly prior to that, diagnosis, which was not diagnosed at that time when I was the age of 23. So I can tell you, medicinal mushrooms, they don't taste like mushrooms. They're essentially a powder form. You throw them into a smoothie. I don't know, did we give you guys some of the mushrooms in the smoothie?
Super energy boost.
Super energy boost. So can they give you energy? Are they loaded with antioxidants? Can they give you immune support right away? Yeah. But for me, my story and what I always try to reiterate is that when you're doing this stuff over the course of months, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, that's where the magic really starts to happen. So if you guys are eating bad food and just add 2 or 3 more fruits and vegetables a day over the course of months, you guys will definitely notice a difference in your health. So that's essentially more to the story there. But medicinal mushrooms are awesome. They are considered adaptogenic or adaptogenic herbs. So essentially when you're consuming them, if you need energy, they will give you energy. If you're too wired all the time, who's too wired all the time? Besides myself, which I like to talk. Anyone else? So it'll help calm you down. Yeah, we got a couple there? Okay.
Yeah.
But it helps calm you down, and it helps ground you or balance you out. If you have trouble sleeping at night, it'll allow you to sleep a little bit better, a little bit more restful, so you have more energy the next day. So it's considered an adaptogenic herb, and they're so good for you. Number 2, we've heard of cruciferous vegetables. Okay, it's like your celery, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, which is a green, arugula, spicy green, fantastic. Anyone like Brussels sprouts at all? That's impressive. I grew up not liking them at all, never gave them a chance, and now I'm absolutely obsessed with Brussels sprouts. They're so good. Especially for Thanksgiving, add a little bit of balsamic glaze, a little bit of maple syrup on top. It's so good for you. Either way, these are loaded with antioxidants, nutrients. You feel good. I'm not forcing you to eat anything you don't want to eat, okay? But if you can put some butter on top of your broccoli when you're making it, it makes it a whole lot better, and it's a good source of fat too. So try to do that just to consume it in general. And the last one, number 3, is celery. Celery is something that I, again, despised growing up. It was never good. Even with peanut butter on top of celery, I still couldn't eat it. Okay, now, we don't have it today. I didn't bring it for you guys. I was going to bring the green juice with celery in it, but I decided not to. Save you guys from that. But celery, in terms of a juicing form, is fantastic for you. Decreases blood pressure, loaded with antioxidants, loaded with water content, can keep you really hydrated throughout the day too. All right, guys, we're getting near the end here, but gut health. You guys have heard of the guts? Anyone heard of the term microbiome at all? That's a new term. Some medicine is really focusing on gut health. It has been, but it's becoming a whole lot more mainstream these days. Your health of your microbiome, which is not only considered here, but there's other components and other aspects to it as well. So this is kind of an alarming statistic here, but we have 22,000 human genes in our body. Okay, but we have nearly 2 trillion microbial genes that are technically not us, or that are technically not you in your body. So it's kind of funny to think that we are a microorganism, but we essentially have a whole lot more bacteria which are living, good or bad, in our body than we do actual human genes. Okay, so it's pretty staggering to think, okay, hey, with that amount of bacteria in you, you want to take care of that bacteria, you want to feed it well, and you want to hopefully reduce the bad bacteria that exists in there. So we want to fix, again, those ratios that exist inside. So good bacteria thrive on fiber. Okay, so vegetables have a lot of fiber, beans, have a lot of fiber, okay? We consume too little fiber, okay? So fiber really helps out with bowel movements. It can help push through things through your body, rid of waste, stuff like that, get rid of all those toxins. So consuming a lot of fiber can really, really help out your diet in general. Bad bacteria, what do you think they thrive on? What do you think they like to consume? I said we're addicted to on a daily basis. Sugar. Yeah, so bad bacteria, they thrive on sugar, and they also thrive on unhealthy processed fats. So you go to a local farm, you get butter, or get raw milk or whatever, those are actually good forms of fat. But if you're getting milk, skim milk particularly, margarine, processed sugars, so all that stuff is not good, and your bad bacteria will start to kind of take over inside. So if you guys ever wonder, sometimes you have stomach aches, you might be feeling low energy, you gotta feel like, okay, what am I feeling in my body essentially that could be creating that? So we're trying to get to the bottom of things, which are creating certain symptoms, and essentially a lot of it stems in your gut. And it's just through essentially replacing a lot of the sugars or processed meats with just healthier alternatives or sourced consciously alternatives that exist out there too. You guys heard of glyphosate at all? Anyone? So that is what's found in weed killers, particularly a brand called Roundup. It's pretty scary. Glyphosate and weed killers are used so much out there that I forget what the stat is, I think it's 50 years, that if we stop using weed killer or glyphosate today, it would take 50 years to get glyphosate out of the rain, okay, that's produced, that's still coming down almost, seems like every day, in the last 2 years, that's happening out there. So glyphosate is terrible for you. It's really an antibiotic. So when we use antibiotics, in general, they definitely can be life-saving, but nowadays it seems like antibiotics are just overused. So antibiotics will kill not only the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria too. So it's not good unless it's absolutely necessary, for sure. But weed killer, it's used all over in conventional farming. That's gotten up into our atmosphere. So every time it rains, again, whether it's organic crops or whatever, you're getting some of this glyphosate even on top of those, which is pretty scary. But again, it wreaks havoc inside your body, but particularly with your ratio of good to bad bacteria in general. Okay, so how to nurture the good bacteria real quick. Don't kill the good ones, okay, that's basic. Don't feed the bad ones, we said with processed sugars, with conventional meats and dairies and eggs, that sort of thing. You want to feed the good ones, so we said prebiotics or fiber, that's all really, really good for down here, feeding the good bacteria. And you want to eat the good ones. So we talked about kombucha as being fermented, having a lot of probiotics. Does anyone like sauerkraut? The pork and sauerkraut at all? Usually on New Year's, anyone like sauerkraut here? Okay, so now I like it again, and it's fantastic. It's a really nice flavor, but sauerkrauts, we call it kimchi. Anything that's fermented is really, really good for the bacteria. Some healthy and delicious pleasures. Okay, we already had a little bit of chocolate this morning. Again, mood boosting, loaded with antioxidants, good for heart health and prevention. You want to aim for at least 65% dark chocolate. Do you guys prefer milk chocolate or do you prefer dark chocolate? Yeah, a little bit dark? Yeah. It doesn't have to be 100. So 100% cacao, which we have on our menu across the boards. That is literally the #1 antioxidant food in the entire world. Okay, but it's extremely bitter. So when you combine 100% cacao, which we use cacao nibs, which are the good form of chocolate chips, with yogurt parfaits, which are loaded with good natural sugar in it and vanilla bean based, then it tastes like normal chocolate, but we have them straight up. It's really, really hard to consume, and it's not very good. So you want to kind of realize, how to put it together, combine it with really, really good food so you guys can actually consume it and like it a whole lot. But 65% or better of dark chocolate is usually the healthiest out there too. Again, we had a beer comment over here. Do you drink red wine as well by any chance? Okay, so we don't do that. But red wine, as you guys know, has an antioxidant which is called resveratrol. Okay, you guys might have heard of it. It's one of those antioxidants. When antioxidants are becoming more discussed, more mainstream, is the one that you heard most of. What I didn't realize is that organically sourced grapes which red wine is made from, actually have a whole lot higher levels of resveratrol than just processed or conventional grapes in too. Kind of makes sense, but there's actually a huge gap in that as well.
Joe,
But-
can I
Yes.
say something here quick? So we had a Wiser alum come in, Denise Gardner, if you guys were here for her seminar, and she researched all the way through, and I forget where, Cindy, do you remember?
I wasn't at Back Creek that day.
She started her research here in high school on grapes. She now owns her own company and does, she introduced to the kids all the wines they produce.
That's
and
awesome.
Yeah, so everything you're talking about now with the wine.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
got another seminar on that.
Oh, that's cool.
The
And you guys can
huge
probably
research
test, maybe you
areas.
go on to test conventional grapes just with organic grapes and see those
Yeah.
levels of resveratrol that exist in there.
Yeah.
And that's for all organic farming just across the board in terms of what's in it. So, yeah, red wine's good once you guys are of age. That's fantastic. Tea, does anyone drink tea here? Whether it's hot tea or iced teas? Tea is very, very good. I'm not a coffee drinker. Don't hate me, anyone else who coffee drinkers. I definitely drink a whole lot of tea. Ariana drinks, well, a lot of coffee and a lot of tea. Maybe a combination of all that. The teas, as you know, they are loaded with antioxidants. But again, make sure it's from an organic source. There's a lot of teas out there are processed, there's not really tea leaves in some of those processed ones. They make it think it's tea leaves, but it's really not, which is scary, what exists out there. So make sure it's organically sourced, you're not getting all those contaminants, any of those toxic stuff that's in them. And coffee. America's #1 source of antioxidants is through coffee. Coffee either has a bad rap or has a good rap. But again, research is showing that even 3 or 4 cups of good, organic, shade-grown, non-GMO or fair trade coffee is extremely good for you. To the point where I've never been a coffee drinker, I definitely want to get addicted to it, but if it has a lot of good stuff, I will do my best to suck it up again and then just try to drink some coffee here and there. But coffee with mushrooms.
Yes.
So I forgot to say, we serve coffee with mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms at the juice bar. Okay, pretty crazy. Doesn't taste like mushrooms. It tastes a whole lot of coffee. Berks County's been pretty receptive to mushroom coffee and everything that would exist that it does. So we do that as well. But if you guys drink coffee, we're going to be doing it at some point. Make sure it's organic. Again, a lot better for you. I should have brought some today, but I don't want to get you guys too wired, especially if you don't drink coffee. But we serve cold brew coffee. You guys have heard of cold brew coffee before versus hot? Have you guys had a difference? Nitro coffee, which is awesome, comes out of a kegerator. It has a nice kind of creamy taste to it. Has a lot less acidity than normal coffee. So one of the smacks on coffee again is too high acidity levels. Okay, but cold brew coffee has a much lower acidity level in it, so your stomach and your body can process it a little bit easier, and it's a lot smoother therefore. So if you guys do coffee, cold brew coffee is very, very good for you, and it still has the same amount of nutrients. But watch out, it definitely packs a whole lot more punch for a whole lot less in terms of ounces that exist out there too. I'm going to skip the gluten thing for now. I definitely would like to get into that at some point. If she brings us back in, we'd like to get more involved with that. But we are going to go into, real quick, the beans. I think it's really cool what beans do for you, essentially. We said beans are loaded with fiber, so they really feed the good bacteria in your body. And they're good for just cleansing your body. Okay, so that's what beans are great for. They are potent cancer fighters. Okay, so definitely consume them for that very reason in and of itself. But I thought this stat was really, really cool. So researchers from around the world, they got together and they wanted to find if there was one food group that was consistently linked with, again, not only these blue zones, but just people who were healthier and lived the most abundant lives. Okay, they weaved out everything from fruit to vegetables to any other superfoods, chocolate that exists out there. And they found that legumes, or beans, were the one common food group linked to long-lasting health, but also very vibrant and abundant lives as well, which I didn't even know. So now I'm consuming beans, of course, every single day. Okay, they're really, really good. So how do you guys consume them, no matter what? Just try to get some beans in your diet for many, many awesome positive reasons there too. And The last one, okay? Should you go vegan? You guys know what vegan is? I was kind of explaining before. Entirely plant-based in general. This can be very controversial for most, right? Don't you find a lot of controversy out there in general? So whether you choose to go vegan just to, improve the health of your body, consume all plants, essentially get rid of all, dairy and eggs and meat, so on and so forth. That's something great, especially you guys are having health concerns. But, research has shown, generally if you are a vegan, that if you incorporate just a little bit of good, consciously sourced meats, dairies, or eggs in you, it can't be argued, but the research shows that people have had even better health, okay, with a little bit of those products in it, but still consuming mostly plant-based foods. So it's a compromise between increasing the fruits and vegetables that are consumed, but like I was, as an addict, I thought I needed meats and that sort of protein almost every single meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 2 or 3 eggs in the morning, 6 ounces of deli meats, which still aren't that great for you, obviously, processed for lunch. And at home, I go ahead, have maybe 6 to 8 ounces of salmon or fish or other fish, chicken, stuff like that. So I'm only doing that once a day now. Okay, so I'm eating maybe 2 or 3 eggs at night, and then the rest of my day is mainly plant-based in general. So I tend to follow that, and then Ariana again chooses to source all plant-based, but also again for the animals and their livelihoods and everything else like that. It's also her decision to go full plant-based and fully vegan with that in mind then too. So that's about it, guys. So this is really the latest of the latest. This book that I got a lot of this information from is called The 31-Day Food Revolution. If you guys have heard of Baskin and Robbins, the fast food chain, started with ice cream that kind of revolutionized ice cream in the fast food business. That was the grandfather, okay, of the gentleman who wrote this book. And essentially, the grandfather really quick ate too much ice cream in his entire life and started to get all kinds of health issues as he got into his 60s, was diabetic, had cancer, had some heart disease. He didn't know what. He was very stubborn. He thought he worked his entire life to do all this, okay, and got to that point. But he realized that it was the sugar and all the processed foods that was leading to all this essentially stemmed from his son and now his grandson. So they essentially changed and reversed the cancer in the grandfather, okay, and finally convinced him that it was really the lifestyle he was leading and the business that he was cultivating for that many years that led to essentially those major diseases that he was dealing with. And that's what fueled what this guy calls the 31-Day Food Revolution, which essentially talks about just taking 31 days, an entire month, to focus on more plant-based foods, sourcing consciously, sourcing organically, trying to remove processed sugars from your diet, replace them with natural, and just doing yoga every day, and some other things to help improve your life. So that is it in a nutshell. If you guys want a copy of this, just some tips, just front and back, to take home. I brought 50 copies here today. I have business cards if you guys want to know where we're located. 10% off coupons if you guys want to come in with Adele and Ann to grab some smoothies. We'd love to have you guys over there. And if you guys want any more samples of the kombucha or juices here, feel free to grab some, so I don't need to take these home whatsoever.
All right.
So thank you so much for your time. I know this is the most exciting stuff, but you guys were awesome. There's only a few yawns out there, so I appreciate it.
Might have some questions.
Thanks again for the reception. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what are your thoughts on hunting? And would that be better than farm meat?
Essentially, yeah. So it really depends on what, how they're, what they're fed, but also what they're doing. So if you're hunting from deer, and deer are out there in nature in their natural habitat, they're eating what they're supposed to be eating versus being fed like GMO grains, essentially, versus maybe cows eating grass. So that would still be a much more natural source than eating a cow that is from 1,000 miles across the country, that never sees the light of day, that just is fed grains their entire lives when they're supposed to be eating grass. So that would be definitely a better source of getting the meats and stuff like that. That's a good question.
So a couple things to think about. So I listened to his topics that he presented to you, for the past couple of years, we've had students build research on these concepts. So absolutely, should this affect your everyday life? If you need stress relief, anxiety, I think we all do at times, right? They gave you some great strategies, and you should check out their store, right? But then there's the second piece of why you guys are all here, right? So you're interested in some of the science behind this stuff. We've had students use what Mr. Seifert's doing right now, DNA barcoding and PCR on tea bags that they got from the stores to genetically sequence all the pieces in the tea bag to see which companies actually follow their labels and have in there what they're supposed to have. So when he said about companies putting things that you might not want in tea bags, he's absolutely right. We have the science behind it. So our student found that one very prominent company was filling tea bags with spinach and not following what they said would be in there, because spinach is cheap. So it was easy to make it look like tea, but it wasn't all tea. You guys get it? We had another student last year work on the ashwagandha root, which is supposed to be another thing that when you put it in teas or foods, helps relieve stress and anxiety.
One of those adaptogenic herbs, like the mushrooms I was talking about, it does a lot for you.
Yeah. Her project, it's Ellie. You guys know Ellie. She's in the cell culture lab.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Where is she?
Oh, right behind you.
behind you.
There you go. She can tell you a lot more about this, but a very cool project. She started feeding the ashwagandha root then to those little nematode worms she's teaching people to work with, C. elegans. And we could tag the chemicals in their brain and in their body to see if it produced chemicals that are supposed to make you feel good, that fight depression and anxiety. One of them was called serotonin. Your brain loves serotonin. When you get a release of it, you're like, ah, this is great. Like when he said chocolate, all your brains probably went, woo, serotonin. Okay? So we can do those things. We can look at those things. Ask Ellie about her project. The Department of Defense is interested in Ellie's project because they want to pre-treat soldiers to try to prevent PTSD. So you see how even the things he's talking about can turn into major breakthroughs, major projects. It's something to think about, something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you guys have individual questions, feel free to come up to them. Like you said, you can try some more things if you want to try something again. If you have research ideas you want to bounce off them, they have a ton of knowledge. Even the yoga interactions with your brain, like those are great project ideas, okay? So come on up, talk to them, and thank you for spending your time here today.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks again for having us. Like Ariel said, we're looking forward to coming out here and starting this relationship, and we look forward to continuing for sure.
All right,
Yeah, thank you
thanks.
so much.
Okay, come on up, everybody.